Nothing to see here. Keep it moving. That divide into setting up a crime scene with tape is a huge one. All right, yeah. So he's on the phone. We'll wait. I was hitting this corner earlier and like it was hard walking by because this person was there. Yo. He's coming out. Yo, what's up, guy? Like your shirt. Hey, what? You're parking here. What are you doing here?
Cleaning the gutters.
You're gonna clean the gutters up. What a day to do it on. Hey, do you have a permit? No. Do you think that's... You don't need one?
Don't need it.
Why don't you need a permit?
Because what we have to do when it rains real hard.
No one asked. Have you ever been asked, do you need a permit for what you're doing? No, that doesn't even... So you're cleaning the gutter. Are you going to get these sticks?
Nope, not today.
Who is going to get these sticks? Can't even hear you. Okay. I can't even hear you. So yeah, doesn't need a permit. I have no idea who he is. And if you think this isn't a deal, it's scientists nowadays, they know that in the rivers, there's a trove of pharmaceuticals that are flooded into the rivers. And why I'm never going into rivers again. Why I'm never going to another funeral again. It's the cancel culture. It stems off of these small little things where people think they don't need them. So I like to dress well off and then unfortunate, but then it's well versed is you wouldn't think someone's unfortunate could be. It's where I'm like stunned if I run into my pastor. This is the last pastor he had. I had to like talk to him, running into him, not for nothing, but this is time around this new pastor. If I bump into him again, it's why wasn't I at church these last few Sabbath days is I had to pallbear. And so when I was pallbearing, first time ever, note, don't ever ask how many times someone's pallbeared. It's like not a charming question, but I learned that after the fact of not to ask. But no, I was this kid younger than me is my cousin's son. And so he's like, no, I'll go in front, you should go in the middle. Because of course I just seen a dead body. The same guy explained I've never seen a dead body. And so this verified it. I'm like, yeah, so this is a funeral home. You go in front, and then this is to take it out into the cemetery, the back door. And so he's in front. We get to the cemetery. He's like, kind of wanting me to go in front. I said, no, I'm in the middle, Mind you, I have a bad foot, so it's the last guy you want to have tripping problems. And the funeral directors, as they're walking over to the hearse, they're high stepping like a ostrich in a sewer. And so, this is graceful. The wherewithal where I was at yesterday, the maturity levels. And I did not look well off, and there's signs all over. I'm not gossiping. When you're out in the streets, believe me, it's not a catwalk or a red carpet to get warmed up. There is a sentiment when you're out in the streets, and I see this over the body language of cops. They put their arms up over their body armor, but it's not of occurrence. That isn't one, believe me, it is. And every time I see it, it's like they're putting up their dukes, look like they're ready to engage in a physical activity? Is this an altercation? Was my question, but it's when I was at their depot, it's just when I'm at their depot, it's just they're more lax because it's in their territory. And so when it comes to like is in these streets, kid I knew call 911 is a bad thing. It's just I was a kid, so I know I could get away with it. The one time I got left with the phone, I did call 911. And so obviously this is a childish thing to do. Make up a reason for no reason at all. I'm not going to check the footage, but it's just this cop. He said 10-4 as if he just got a call the split second after he heard that I wanted to change the subject and talk about mailbox. So this guy, he was first chauffeured out because I broke up the huddle with their $300,000 vehicles. They're fairly new, so, you know, he felt disrespected when I made him back up. It was his choice, you know. But then he got bored. He was not in the conversation, the bulk of it. And I was making such, you know, clear statements. I was actually segueing rather well. It's just he wasn't part of the inclusion. I threw a quick pun at him with the donuts. And then he decided like a child to pretend like this is a 10-4 call. There was no call for a 10-4. He just wanted to get out of there because I mentioned a mailbox. And this is something where if you have a giant truck bed in the back and you swing it back and you hit a mailbox and it's damaged it and it's vandalized, how big is something where it is actually like a big thing? It's where these Nuremberg codes, you've got the right to self-defense, you've got this right to medical freedom, you have a right to travel, you have a right to a job. And in fulfilling these things, this Nuremberg code in the subways nowadays, you have to be like frisked or else you can't ride the subway. And they're saying on TV, then you just better stay at home. And it's this thing with the police where they get some of these kids in the back of their minds, or adults that are immature, and they have in the back of their mind, wait, that cop just was playing with me. He said he had a 10-4 and he left the moment I had something important to talk about. And it was like a pretend game. And so then like you see these cops, they're kneeling with the defund the police to BLM, and then these cops, they just got vandaled. Here's a clip. And so when I'm talking about the Nuremberg Code and you have rights, I did have a point. I heard this from before. I was just trying to confirm it. Mailboxes, it's so important you to get letters. It's just as a direct communication to like the government to you, where they have the allowance to throw the book at you and take your life by granting you life in prison. And so when it's this case, it's these divine things, like we've got like our rights and they're given to by God. It's not given to by legislation or anyone powerful. And so when you've got these like divine things, like a message, a letter, that it's like by law, you have to receive this. By law, you've got to do this, that. So if you mess someone's mailbox up, even accidentally, and they want to press charges, it's a felony charge under federal jurisdiction. These mailboxes, you're not to touch them or you're a felon. And the difference from a misdemeanor to a felony is drastic, people. Believe it or not, you can't hold a gun, buy one, you can't vote. And these are things that are like sacred in Americano. And if you're a felonano, it's just like giant, because then you're liable to always on your record going to jail. And that's why they always want to know with your record where you're coming from. If you have a clean one, you've got great standing. So when I mentioned the mailbox, he knew that his job is like just got from a donut kind of shooting the breeze talk into an escalation where if he gets this question wrong, his job's going to be on the line. They're so minute. They're what are misdemeanors. It would be if what I was explaining were equivalent to felonies. It would be like, oh, wow, that's, you know, something that is definitely worth noting, but this is how they get by. And so it's death by 1,000 cuts. The only way to illustrate these things would be through, if it were a video game with hitboxes. And this is what law, you study it, you see there's so many of these things in law that would apply and they don't apply. It's like a mailbox. You're a felon if you accidentally hit it with your car. If they want to press charges, now you are one. If that doesn't have a hitbox written over it for what's unlawful up into what is, then I don't know what could be. And that's why video game hitboxes are important. But if you're going to make a video game, you might as well just make a CGI movie. Nowadays, with what standards look good. And at that point, then these illustrations would look somewhat more presentable because they would be on a production scale with the cameraman. It's because I don't have a cameraman with me standing holding the camera where it would have looked like I was like more important. And believe me, I know I've seen a TV commercial being shot where there's a cameraman and then the news reporter. The news reporter is of course dressed to impress with all the makeup on, and it's right when they cut the shot, I go up and start chopping it up with them, explaining what would be important to note and places in town of where to go, and they couldn't wait to end the conversation and leave. It's always this shell of protection where you see these people who are cowardless, only the wicked flee, how confident they are right before they escape, knowing that they don't have to see you again. And it's this treating every one of these places like clubhouses, like the police department. Oh, they're so lax in there. And then you have a same conversation on the street. It's all uptight. This fire department right on my right, we don't have telephone booths anymore to pay for phone calls. You go inside there, you ask to use a phone, they have to have like a conference among and whisper to themselves and say, okay, yeah, we'll allow you to use our phone. And the same place they have all these vehicles. This one fire department SUV, he had his lights flashing going down this road. He waits until he's just right next to me, and then he fires that siren, starts spraying that sound. And this is all like within these small examples. It's not, I don't get animated a whole bunch, and I get in trouble if I raise my voice ever. But it's to the point where like it isn't really exciting to hear these like one after another, because